Hi, my name's Tom Tolman. I'm on the Bountiful City Council, and today we have some exciting things taking place down here at Woods Cross High School. We have a two-day fundraising event for our new museum. We've been raising funds for the last 4 or 5 years, and we've got about another $400,000 to go, and so we're hoping to raise a lot of good funds today with these events. Here today we can just kind of give you an overview of the early beginnings of Bountiful and what it was like. We are actually the second city in the state of Utah to be established in 1847. Peregrine Sessions came around the corner of the mountain to find a place to house the cattle for the winter. And this one scene here of the original oil painting by Lester Lee kind of depicts that area of what Bountiful was like in the very beginnings before anybody was here. And so we have a rich heritage and a rich history here in Bountiful, and so we're trying to tell that story today with these events. And we invite people to come to our little museum that we have right by the city offices, and they can find out a little bit more about the history of Bountiful. Let me take you through some of the other things that we have going on today too. We have Rod Meldrum, who is an author and lecturer on the prophecies and promises of the prophet Joseph Smith. And he has a number of publications here, and he's helped put this whole program together with some of these other speakers that we have tomorrow. And we'll let him tell a little bit about some of the things that he has going here today.
Well, we have the opportunity to share some research that involves Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon and the United States of America as its promised land. I've been involved with research with Dr. Bruce Porter, and wherein we have identified that there's actually 36 prophecies in the text of the Book of Mormon that actually identifies the promised land as the United States of America. For example, it talks about there would be a new nation that would be established, and it would be a nation above all other nations, but it's also where the gospel would be restored and where the New Jerusalem would be built. And that indicates very clearly the United States.
We have a number of publications available at our museum in Bountiful that talk about the early days of Bountiful, and we'd love to have you come over to our museum and purchase these. All the proceeds from the sales of these books go toward the building of our museum. We have Howard Smith, who has written a book called Keeper of the Prophet's Sword. Howard, would you like to tell us a little bit about the Prophet's Sword?
You bet. Right here we have the Nauvoo Legion Sword of the Prophet Joseph Smith. It was given to one of his bodyguards by the name of Joseph Bates Noble. It was brought into the Salt Lake Valley in 1847. It's been hid away for over 160 years. And West Bountiful, it's been 100 years in an old adobe house built by Joseph Bates Noble. And we're here today to share these relics with the people of Bountiful and to make them aware that the Prophet's Sword has been a part of West Bountiful for 160 years, and within a 100 yards area it was hid away. It's no longer hid away.
Here on the table we have artifacts that are from an ancient civilization that existed during the time frames of the Book of Mormon in the heartland of America. And these artifacts, there's artifacts of metal. These are copper artifacts here. And then stone artifacts. They have found artifacts. For example, these are replicas of artifacts that were found in Newark, Ohio, and that have ancient, what they call monumental Hebrew on these artifacts, which shows a Hebrew presence in North America during that time frame of the Book of Mormon. We also have further down here we have, this is actually a brand new book that's just basically come out. It's called Iron Age America Before Columbus. This fellow has spent 60 years and has now identified over 40 iron smelting furnaces in the ancient ruins of this middle Mississippi Valley and Ohio River Valley area.
Here we have the Bountiful book, The City of Bountiful by Leslie Foy. This talks all about the early history of Bountiful, and it's our best book right now on the early history of Bountiful.
Next to it is a stick. It's a oak coffin stick. My book, Keeper of the Prophet's Sword, without that stick I wouldn't have new historical information on how the prophet Joseph Smith and his brother Hiram Smith were rescued from Carthage. They came back in oak caskets. It was made by a casket maker in Nauvoo with a legion of 8 bodyguards that were officers in Nauvoo Legion. And they came back into the area and the bodies were brought up to the mansion house. Emma elected, they had pine coffins they viewed on the Saturday of the funeral, and the 2 oak coffins were filled with sandbags, and they were used after the viewing on Saturday to be buried out in the cemetery. The reason for this, the mobs at that time wanted to use this sword to cut off the prophet's head with. They had a $1,000 bounty for the head of the prophet, which today is equivalent to $250,000.
Over here we have, that's where I've been involved with this DNA research, which is actually showing that there is a direct link between Native American populations in North America and Jewish populations all around the world. So that's a little bit of information we're going to be talking about here at the event. We're excited about being here and hope to be able to share a lot of exciting new information. We have a lot of information about Joseph Smith and what he knew about that. In fact, this arrowhead right here is a replica of one that occurred while on Zion's camp. And Joseph Smith went up on a mound and dug down about a foot. This was highly corroborated by 8 different witnesses, and he had a vision on this mound in which he said that the person whose skeleton was before them on the ground was a Lamanite, and his name was Zelph, and he died in one of the final battles between the Nephites and the Lamanites in Illinois. That puts the Book of Mormon geography squarely in the heartland of America, which I believe to be the promised land of America.
The dwellings talks about all the homes that were built in Bountiful before 1900. We have them all documented and photographed, and this is an excellent book to have too. If you want to take a little tour around Bountiful, we have Bountiful historic sites, and you can purchase this little book and then take individual tours around to some of the various sites in Bountiful. This stick here is one of 12 sticks that Emma took from the lid of the rescue coffin and were given out to the bodyguards and 4 to 4 friends. I have located 5 of these sticks, and they claim they are holy. You can feel the spirit of them, and in the latter times they predict they can be used to heal the sick.
One of the exciting things about this new proposed geography, which by the way is the University of Chicago, at the Divinity School actually has now said that that there is a swelling movement within the Mormon Church that prefers to believe that the Book of Mormon may have happened in North America. And you can see from this graphic that there are actually 10 different anchors in this thing. For example, the Hill Cumorah, we know where that was in New York. We know where the New Jerusalem is going to be built and where Adamandayaman is located. We know where the first missionaries served, the Lamanites. And there's also DNA evidence that supports the Book of Mormon here too.
And this is a publication. It's called The Heart of Bountiful Business, about all the businesses in Bountiful from the early 1900s up to the present day. And we really look forward to having this book, and it'll be there and available for us. Stoker School is one of the oldest schools in Davis County, and this is a history that we did during the centennial of that a couple of years ago. Right now it's owned by the Bountiful City, and it houses the University of Utah education.
The sword was hid away on 8000 West. We call it Onion Street in West Bountiful, and at 10th North or 1000 North. And I grew up there. As a little boy, across the street from my house, there was an old adobe house that was built by Joseph H. Noble, who was a bodyguard, as I mentioned, and it was hid away in that old adobe house for 100 years until they tore it down. And then it went into the Uncle Dale Noble's possession. He kept that with him just a few yards away from the old adobe house. It's never really left that spot until now. That's where it's been hid away.
But this one is what's really interesting. We call this historical chiasmus. Many people know about chiasmus in the Book of Mormon, and this is historical chiasmus. If this geography is correct, then what you essentially have is Book of Mormon history starting in the heartland of America, ultimately going up into the land Bountiful and up to the hill Cumorah, where their records were deposited. Then you fast forward 1,400 years, Joseph Smith receives the plates at the hill Cumorah. They come to the Ohio River Valley and build the first temple of this dispensation in Kirtland, Ohio, and then shortly they were pushed out into the Mississippi River Valley. And what you have is essentially Book of Mormon history is on the same lands as church history.
We have from the 1992 centennial celebration, we have videos that are still available called Glimpses into Bountiful Pass. It's a video narrated by Kim Birmingham, who's one of our speakers today, talks about all the early history of Bountiful. We appreciate the support of the community and those old historians of Bountiful to bring us their information, their journals, their pictures, so that we can build this museum and have a place to archive them for future generations. You know, it's really important. Bountiful is the second city in the state of Utah, and we don't have anything to show for it. And this is a time that we stand up and make it happen. Our